Here is the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, on peace and security in Anambra State as our collective responsibility. Charles Chukwuma Soludo, CFR, Governor Anambra State. Being press statement by Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, Governor of Anambra State, at Oka Wednesday, 25th May 2022. Umunnem di Anambra, you employed me to lead the process of building a livable and prosperous homeland. After swearing in on the 17th March 2022, I worked for 8 hours and 45 minutes that day and have kept working hard every day to make you proud. A lot is ongoing and we will report to you in due course. However, we recognize from the first minute that restoring peace and security will be foundational to our larger agenda as a people. We devoted several paragraphs in our inaugural speech to underscore the grave security challenges we inherited with the deadly criminal gangs largely in occupation of 8 local governments. You may recall that I was attacked by so-called unknown gunmen while addressing youth at a rally in March 2021, leaving 3 policemen dead, and indeed hardly any candidate could campaign freely in the 7 local governments of the South Senatorial Zone in 2021. I knew the grave situation and determined to confront it. I met with the State Security Council for 3.5 hours on the first day, and there was the consensus to deploy both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. While the security agencies have been doing their best with limited resources, we are convinced that sustainable peace and security cannot be achieved without the cooperation and solidarity of people. Consequently, we went to work to mobilize our people and address the wider socio-economic and legacy issues fueling agitations and insecurity. I have to stop at this juncture and say that every time we keep hearing from the Nigerian officials, government officials, state, local government, in fact, the local government doesn't exist. So I would just say state government and federal government, that the security agencies with their limited resources, what happened to all the budget made to the Ministry of Defense, to the military, to the police, to all the military agencies? What happened to the budget? The top officials are stealing the money. The military leaders are stealing the money. Civilian officials are stealing the rest. So the few things that you are bringing in, you are barely spending 1/10 of the budget because the rest are getting stolen. It's everywhere. It's in the media. So when the governor is saying about limited resources, who is responsible for that? This country is producing 3 million barrels of crude oil and gas and a lot of other resources. You steal all these things and you say that these people are underfunded. These are the same people that go to the street to waylay the people and be robbing them, taking money, like collecting money like the people owe them. The military, the police, all of them. Everyone that is bearing gun in Nigeria is collecting from you. In fact, in Lagos, those without gun are also collecting from people like Latsma. So the country is rotten. So the governor should support the call for referendum so that we can go through referendum and then begin to build a country or a state or a local government that will serve our people. We don't have to make excuses for Nigeria's failure. Centralized police is what is destroying Nigeria. And Nigeria will go up in flames if we do not rush to referendum. Nigeria needs to rush to referendum so that different zones can be responsible for what is going on in that place. Because Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo is not responsible for Anambra today. He is just chief security officer by briefing only. He cannot direct anything. It is all located at Abuja. So that needs to change. That's part of what referendum will do. It will change the way things are being done in Nigeria. It will restore power to the local government. From the local government, people will elect people for their state. From that same local government, they will elect people to the federal center where they will be represented. This is the message of NINAS, for people to have direct representation and not by selection, as is presently going on in Nigeria. The country is not going to work. Rather, Nigeria will continue to crash until it explodes. So the peaceful way is what Lower Niger Congress is advocating with NINAS. The Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. This represents the Oduduwa, Middle Belt, and Lower Niger Congress, which includes South, South, and Southeast. So we must have referendum, otherwise we're heading to war, because those people that are killing our people, those people that are killing us, they're not looking back, and they're not negotiating well, because they want to destroy everything. They want to burn Nigeria down if they don't have their way. They are part of what is going on in the Southeast, including those that copied what Nnamdi Kanu did, hiding under ESN to be operating their criminal activities. These are the people we're contending with. We cannot be in the same country with such people. So they should be killed wherever they are found. All these people that are disturbing Alibo, they should all be shot at sight. They are equivalent to Boko Haram, Fulani terrorists. All the terrorist groups operating in Ariwa, these people are equivalent to them. They are just like jihadists. They can become suicide bombers if they are not controlled. Nigeria is on fire. Yes. We consulted and collaborated with the Southeast Joint Body of Bishops and Traditional Rulers, issuing joint statements with the Joint Body of Organizing Prayer Sessions in the entire Southeast on 4th April 2022, with the goal of ending the sit-at-home and ensuring an enduring peace and security in the Southeast. Again, let me say that what is keeping the Southeast the way it is Nigeria. Because Southeast on its own, having its own policing system that we have local police at the local level, that will be checking all the towns and villages everywhere, well equipped. If Anambra State, for example, was so set up, Chukwuma Soludo will not be so engaged in dealing with the security situation in Anambra State, for example. It's a burden that Nigeria has placed on all of us. And the best thing to get out of this is to go through referendum. There is nothing can sustain Nigeria being one. Nigeria is not one. Nigeria is not two. Nigeria is more than 5 or 6. Let's go for referendum and decide where we want to be. It is the people, you and your family, in your land, in your home, that form the indigenous people. Not destroying our people by thieves from outside my home state of Anambra State, burning the state down, killing people, beheading people, terrorizing our people, terrorist groups among us. Please, these people should be eliminated on sight. That's the right thing that they deserve. Because they are no different from the people that Gumi is meeting, the Sheikh Gumi in the north. Those terrorist groups. We organized the Anambra Peace and Security Dialogue with the leadership of the Christian denominations, town unions, traditional rulers, youth organizations, women, market and transport unions, as well as political leaders and non-indigenous with a communique calling for an end to sit-at-home and peace security in the Southeast on April 2nd, 2022. It will not work because these criminals are armed, and our people are not armed. So all our people, whoever has gun, should use it to protect yourself. If you have gun, keep it on you. Whatever you have, keep it on you to defend yourself against these criminals, because Nigeria has failed you. We offer the olive branch to all the armed youths in the forest to come out, surrender their guns, and with the commitment that our government will help to retrain and empower them to contribute positively to our development. Our government has, in our proposed revised budget, provided handsomely for youth empowerment. Look at what the governor of Anambra State is doing. And these criminals, like Anambra State is offering them to train them, not minding that they are not citizens of Anambra State, yet they are killing our people and displaying this head on the roadside, including that of a member of Anambra State House of Assembly. It doesn't really matter whoever he is. As long as he is one of us, he is our family. Why kill him? What did he do? Is he worse than Andy Uba, Jim Wobodo, Prince Atoeze, Andy Uba, Ojuzo Kalu, Rocha Sokorocha, the new prayer warrior, the one that is calling on God? I don't know how Nigerian politicians with their heartlessness, their wickedness, their demonicness, how they have the courage to mention the name of God, because thunder and lightning is not striking and killing them as they are doing it, and they continue doing it. The governor continues. The official leadership of IPOB also repeatedly issued statements dissociating itself from the senseless and destructive sit-at-home on Mondays, etc., as well as the kidnapping and criminal actions of gangs in the state and the southeast. IPOB actually gave them cover to do what they are doing, because Nnamdi Kanu went on his own to set up ESN. A lot of criminals now hide under this cover and develop their own. When ESN didn't even take them, they went to set up their own criminal gang and start cutting people, eating people, destroying our place, ruining our economy. How do we get better? By destroying ourselves. We set up the Truth, Justice, and Peace Committee with the goal of getting to the remote and immediate causes of the agitation and criminality, with a view to profiling systematic and lasting solutions. We have severally again met with town unions and traditional rulers, landlords, all in the mobilization of a people of lasting peace and security. True to our commitment to engage with all state and non-state actors relevant to the search for lasting peace and security, we visited Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, and he reiterated that he never authorized the senseless sit-at-home and absolved the organization IPOB from the crass criminality, especially the barbaric enforcement of the sit-at-home and the kidnapping and spilling of blood. Mazen Kanu expressed his willingness to personally address the press, to charge his followers to keep the peace. Subsequently, his lawyer issued an official statement confirming this position, and his associate also addressed the media in the same vein. While this is going on, Simon Ekpa, Nnamdi Kanu's disciple in Finland, is helping to burn Anambra State down with Imo State. Simon Ekpa. And I have said that Anambra State and Nigeria, the current wobbly, dead, useless Nigeria, can still make contact with Finland to have Simon Ekpa either deported to Nigeria or tried in Finland for incitement, for inciting people to violence, for challenging the authority of Anambra State to be at peace. We have also had town hall meetings with Indian Anambra in Lagos and Abuja, and our people are united in their condemnation of the criminality going on in the state and the environs, and demonstrated their commitment to join hands with us in solving it. This is going to be in 2 series. We will stop it here. But let's remember one thing. Nigeria is not going to solve its problem the way it is. Nigeria needs to go through referendum. All the people across the land, indigenous people, whether you are from Middle Belt, South, and Southeast. In fact, in the North now, Christian communities are getting targeted. That's why they killed Deborah Yakubu. They killed Deborah Yakubu in Sokoto by fellow students, terrorists around her. And she did not blaspheme anything. She just said that they need to discuss certain things, that they don't just make decisions that they did not discuss. That's what this lady said, and they killed her because she's a Christian. I wish that Christians can unite like Muslims. If only Christians can unite as Muslims, their number is greater than Muslims in Nigeria. They can overpower them. That they have the military of Nigeria does not give them monopoly to violence. They have taken all the military structures. Elements of Muslim terrorists are in government of Nigeria, including the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, Issa Pantami, and many others. These are all terror sympathizers, including the Izala movement that all these people came from. Sheikh Gumi is part of all this, all of them. In the 12 Sharia states, we need to go through referendum to have this happen, to make this happen. Have a nice day. It's been your guy, Stephen, from the Lower Niger Radio.
Ninas, where we came from, where we are, or the road to freedom. Today, we speak of Ninas, but know that the struggle for the restoration of our sovereignty did not start today. As a matter of fact, the struggle started almost as soon as the sovereignty of the ethnic nationalities was stolen by the imposition of the 1999 Constitution, which maintained a unitary government. With the end of the military regime and return to democracy, there was great hope that the country would be returned to what the people had voted for, and that existed prior to the military intervention in 1966. The hope of the country was dashed when, instead of a return to a federal governance structure with multiple self-governing and autonomous government with their own constitutions, the government was kept centralized in a federal government that kept all the power, the asset, and resources of the ethnic nationalities. Making things worse, this so-called constitution was not put to a referendum, and so was not made by the people. Deprived the citizens of their right to benefit contained in Chapter 2, made federal character unenforceable, gave the lion's share of the oil and other assets to the far north through a federal account sharing process that was exclusively weighted to favor the far north and make corruption official. Let me take you back over 2 decades of our journey. It all started when the military regime of General Abdul Salami Abubakar imposed a unitary 1999 constitution, which in turn was a wholesale rival of the 1979 constitution that was also known to be a victory charter for the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967 to 1970. When it was made public a few weeks after inauguration of General Obasanjo as president, a better half of those in the legal profession gathered itself at conference and, without much ado, recognized the flaws, loopholes, and selfish intentions, then concluded that the Constitution was not legitimate and would not lead Nigeria to any form of advancement. It was important that the mechanism or vehicle to set up a countrywide rejection of this forgery of a constitution was put in place. The journey commenced when, in 2004, the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, was established to rework the damaged federal constitutional basis of Nigeria. PRONACO being the People's Sovereign National Conference of Ethnic Nationalities in Nigeria, convened in all ethnic nationalities, and quickly mandated its representation to go back to their people and to come up with ratified draft of how they would want to participate in the Union of Nigeria. The conference sat in plenaries across the cities of Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Jos, and Kano, then returned to Lagos for the final sitting, and in participation, conveners in the likes of Anthony Ehanuro, Wole Soyinka, Chukwu Emeka Odumego Ojukwu, and similar leaders across the territories. This resolution was an agreement derived from the Composite People's Constitution as presented and defended by ethnic nationalities representation in those sequential conferences. And it is is important to know that there were observers from the international community, including the US and European Union observers. In August 2006, a delegate from Castina moved the motion for adoption of the draft People's Constitution that emerged from the 29-point resolution of the conference. In furtherance of the Protocol Consensus to restore the federal basis of the Nigerian Union, in 2007, the Movement for a New Nigeria was set up as an enforcement of the consensus at the time to exclude the 12 contiguous northern states that had introduced and embraced the Sharia legal system against the secular basis for Nigeria. The Allies had insisted that democracy and Sharia system could not coexist in the same political space, hence the need for a new vehicle, the Movement for New Nigeria. On the 23rd of May 2007, MMN, through its legal counsel, filed a suit at the Federal High Court Abuja to challenge the legitimacy of the imposed 1999 Constitution, seeking the termination of the entire Constitution. At the court hearings, which had the Attorney General of the Federation representing the federal government, legal representation of the National Assembly, and others admitted the people case which they could not defend the challenge, but insisted that the plaintiff had no locus standi. In English, the plaintiff had no status at law to bring in the case to challenge the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. Having acknowledged that the restoration of the people's sovereignty did not need the participation or permission of government, the joint multi-regional vehicle instituted the MMN Lagos Declaration 30th of June 2011, by which the Allies partner blocks, the Lower Niger, South-South, and Southeast, the Yoruba land, and the Middle Belt publicly rejected the Caliphate-imposed 1999 Constitution, mandating regional self-determination actions which included referendum and international outrage. In furtherance to the mandate of the MMN Lagos Declaration, the people of the Lower Niger on the 27th of April 2015 held the Solemn Assembly in Port Harcourt City to wholly repudiate the 1999 Constitution. In that assembly, the 1,885 ethno-linguistic map of the Lower Niger was adopted as a geographical basis of federating. The assembly mandated the distillation of character of relationship as well as asset protection and guarantee scheme to protect the asset of the indigenous people in other blocks of Nigeria. On the mandate for international outrage of the MNN Lagos Declaration, an LNCT visited Capitol Hills, Washington, to make a case for the termination of the operation of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution at the special congressional event on Nigeria in May 2015. The team also made informal consultation for the same matter at the UN headquarters in New York in the same year. 2 years later, still in furtherance to mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the Yoruba indigenous people held the Yoruba Solemn Assembly at Ibadan on the 7th of September 2017. The Assembly publicly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria and proclaimed the self-determination right of the Yoruba land to reclaim autonomy of Yoruba land.
NINA's Extraordinary Urgent Alerts Parts 1 through 4. Battlefield Instructions, April 27, 2022. As the NINA's constitutional force majeure implementation moved from enlightenment and mobilization towards enforcement in the Union dispute declared December 16, 2020. Be it known to all that alliance of the rest of Nigeria's South and Middle Belt has defeated the Caliphate-imposed 1999 Constitution. It has also intensified, isolated, and paralyzed the hitherto unseen proprietors of that rogue Constitution beyond tenured office holders. This 4-point broadcast gives an overview of the battlefield and provides a guide on how the victory already secured over the obnoxious 1999 Constitution and its proprietors is being operationalized and transformed into liberation for the trapped constituent components of the distressed Federation of Nigeria. You are encouraged to share this good news with your friends and family members, as much as it lies within you to do.
With the urgent alerts that have to come out at this time concerning the things that are happening to us and the things that are about to happen to us. Only a few days ago, in the aftermath of the train terror, the Kaduna-Abuja train terror attack, and the demands of the terrorists who are holding on to most of the passengers, we did raise an alarm that from the tone of their demands about not wanting money, it's not money they were asking for. We then began to imagine what it could be, because if it's not money, we also said it's not anything money could buy. And we began looking back at what we already knew on the subject matter. We began to ask whether it had to do with land or our sovereignty. As we raised those questions, other things happened. And one of the victims, whom they later put on video from the place of captivity, Alhaji Kabir Muhammad Adamu, the managing director of Bank of Agriculture also, who then conveyed their demand, say the federal government knew what the demands were, and therefore, from what was in the video, they didn't name what that demand was. But when got home, and people came commiserating, media people came trying to find out, he then, told everybody what he was told by his captors about what the demands were. It then turned out to confirm our worst fears, that it is the land of Nigeria. I want everybody to listen carefully so that we can understand what situation we're caught in now. The lands of Nigeria, and there's a video we can verify on YouTube titled Ahead of 2015 Election. It was on STV. It was a 2014 interview when these deployments, when these terror merchants, mercenaries that have been hired by those who wanted to grab power by all means in 2015. That interview happened in the very period they were rampaging and doing all kinds of things. And we had gone to TV at the time to say that this is what is behind the insurgency we were seeing on an unprecedented scale at the time. People who say either they get to power or the place will be made ungovernable. People who said the blood of the baboon and that of the dog will mix up. These were the people who hired these mercenaries. El Rufai himself told us how he went, later. We were piecing, we were bringing the pieces together to form a complete picture. That there was a promise. There was a promise to hand over the lands of Nigeria to these marauders in return for their services of providing the quantum of violence that was required to push out Goodluck Jonathan from office in 2015 electoral round. And so, if we go back to that video titled Ahead of 2015 Elections, that's the title on YouTube. We can click it and find out today. It's on STV. We will see that it was all about election that was coming. It was all about power. So there was election that was the rendezvous, the point of exchange on the matter. And the gladiators and what they were doing to carry the day. Subsequent, we saw El Rufai confirming on national TV how he went to 14 different countries to give these mercenaries money for whatever they were killing people in his domain, and all he could do as sitting governor was to go to give them money. But the picture is getting clearer now that it was El Rufai that actually interfaced with them in that contract of bringing them in. Of course, it's on behalf of his principal, who then emerged as president and commander-in-chief. These are, I'm just giving our own readings of what we see. If anybody has a better account of what it is, particularly the ones who are named in that, that government, I don't see anybody that they could be referring to as government than the president and commander-in-chief, who was their champion all these years. We remember when Jonathan and Hejrika was struggling with Boko Haram, it was the same Buhari that came out to say that the attack on Boko Haram was an attack on the north. He was always their spokesman. He has not ceased being the patron of Mieti Allah, that have been taking credit and, proudly too, for the, murderous onslaught by Fulani herdsmen, the fourth most deadly terror group on the face of the earth. So we are connecting, we are bringing together who is playing what role in this sordid drama that has now become an existential threat to the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria across the south and middle belt, looking at this map. So this invasion we have seen, everything we have seen that came as insurgency, that came as Boko Haram, that came as Fulani herdsmen, that came as ethnic cleansing, from that 2012, 13, 14, particularly from 2015, has to do, everything we saw had to do with that promise of come and help me to power so that you can take the land for yourself. And it is within the context of that interpretation that we begin to see the complicity of our own president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces that was supposed to be defending us from this invasion. How did we come to the conclusion of complicity? We saw, apart from the utterances, give up your land or your life, from his spokesman. We saw the defense, his minister of defense asking the states that were passing anti-open grazing laws to do away with those laws. Otherwise, they will have to contend with the cows that have to find their way. We saw the many attempts of trying to, reverse the laws to recreate, to bring about open grazing. The Ruga thing that we have always talked about, all of those were attempts to fulfill that promise, to hand over the land of Nigeria to these people that will now become the permanent owners. And further on that question of complicity of our president, we saw when the borders of Nigeria were thrown open, compromising our sovereignty, and we saw the numbers that poured in terms of the Fulani that had to come from everywhere in the sub-region into our space. We saw during the COVID-19 lockdown how they were moved into the southern territories using Dangote trucks. We saw the governor in Bauchi that came to national TV to tell us that Fulani from everywhere belong to Nigeria. We saw what Pantami and the immigration people have been doing in documenting them as Nigerians, since that was the policy of the so-called federal government. I say so-called because Nigeria ceased to be a federation. The Federation of Nigeria collapsed in 1966, And all of the federal governments that have been operating in Nigeria since 1967 are illicit federal government, because we couldn't have a federal government in the absence of a federation. We still have a country, but it is anomalous to be talking about federal government. And so for the purpose of this broadcast, we would then say the rogue federal government that emerged from 1967 upon the collapse of the Federation of Nigeria had been, the one dictating to everybody what will happen to everybody. And the Fulani, as we have seen, had hijacked that rogue federal government. So it's just a matter of, mechanism for conquest. And the whole purpose of what they were doing all the while, if we look back at Ahmadu Bello's battle script of 1960, in which he was talking about, the estate of their great-grandfather, everybody's familiar with that now. We now begin to look at the Buhari that contested elections 4 times. It was for the purpose of, we allege that it was all for the purpose of bringing Fulani from everywhere to resettle them in our space.
That he kept coming out.
Killing off the owners of the land, the indigenous nationalities that own the land. The title deed, the reason we are talking to our people now, so that they can see what they can do to reverse the situation, because that whole gambit has collapsed. Nobody is going to be able to hand over any land to anybody in the circumstances they've planned. If out of 8 years, 7 years gone, particularly after the attempt to smuggle the Ruga into the amendment, proceedings they were having, pretending they were talking about local government autonomy. But we monitored them to the point where we busted it. Again, we hear that there are some nocturnal movements to try to smuggle that amendment to the state assemblies. Those whose lands will be taken in all those states, if those amendments sail through, are waiting for whoever will bring those amendments to state. We don't even want to bother with that, because the people who own the land are already waiting for people who want to bring those amendments for any kind of consideration. Because it is just the formal handing over of everybody's land to these Fulani invaders. That is what that Ruga, that amendment that has to do with local government autonomy wanted to achieve. If Ninas did not block that amendment in the way we did, it would have been the point of fulfillment of that promise made before 2015 to these invaders, because they would just have called them aside to say, look, the land is now yours. Constitutionally so. The governors will have been shut out, because the local government will now become the business of federal government in terms of INEC conducting election, in terms of allocations going directly to them, and in terms of what the traditional rulers could be doing with them to set up Ruga everywhere they want to set up Ruga. It will have just been a matter of the 704 local government areas, the communities, not just the communities, the lands of the communities will have been in the hands of these Fulani invaders by the manipulation of that illicit federal government through the National Assembly, so-called because until we resolve the union dispute around the constitution under which all this are being done, we do not have a union really. People are just imposing themselves on other people. Look at this map. I want us to look at this map again. The alliance, the entire portion.
Here is the part 2 of Governor of Anambra State released today, May 25th, 2022, on the insecurity ravaging Anambra State, including Imo State. The 2 major heartland states of Ndibo is being systematically destroyed from people that are outside of these states, coming from outside of the state. Like in Anambra, more than 80% is said to come from Ebonyi by the state government. We have also had town hall meetings within the Anambra in Lagos and Abuja, and our people are united in their condemnation of the criminality going on in the state and the environs, and demonstrated their commitment to join hands with us in solving it. The list of the public engagements is long, with even a longer list of backroom plans and actions. I must also say that Governor Chukwuma Soludo had a meeting with Okada drivers, or is it Keke drivers? And these same people attacked that venue of the meeting. They went there and destroyed some of their vehicles and probably injured some people. This is a direct challenge to the very existence of our people. And there is no doubt that the current criminal Nigeria might be playing a part in all that is going on. Despite the above, the criminal gangs are unrelenting in their desperation to maintain their very lucrative criminal enterprise and expand their other agenda of domination. When the security agencies rooted them out of two of their numerous camps, their reprisals were to burn down the secretariats of two local governments, and that's Nnewi, I believe it was in Nnewi South and in Nnewi South, or North, or Agwata local government. It was in Nnewi and Agwata. They burned these local governments. It's time for prayer. We need to pray for all of us individually and as communities, because Nigeria is gone. Okay. They also attacked these two local governments and police stations, police and soldiers. Routinely, they kidnap for ransom, rape, and murder their victims, as well as burn houses and properties. They also ate some. That's me saying me. They relish in shooting soft targets, including recently a poor woman frying akara in front of her house on a Monday. Can you imagine? This woman is only surviving by selling bean balls, akara, fried bean balls. Over the past 1 week, in Anambra and indeed the nation have been treated to the gory stories of the kidnapping and subsequent beheading of Honorable Okechukwu Okoye, member of the State House of Assembly, and his aide, Cyril Chieboka, both from my community, Isuofia, in Agwata, as well as the brutal murder of Mrs. Harriet Jubril from Adamawa State and her 4 children and 3 other Northerners. That's despicable. Anambra people have been in shock. This is not who we are at all. Our deepest condolences are with the families of the various victims. We are working round the clock with the security agencies, and the perpetrators must be brought to book. Let us be very clear. These criminals causing mayhem in Anambra are of disparate groups and gangs. They are Igbos, dominantly from other southeast states, whose real objective is lucrative criminality and foisting their idolatrous religion on the region. Unfortunately, every criminal gang, including cult groups, claims to be a liberation movement, making it difficult to differentiate between any genuine agitators from criminals. Unfortunately also, the criminals now dominate the space. Anambra is the prime target because that is the most lucrative location for kidnapping for ransom in the southeast. With their immense propaganda machine funded largely by their sponsors abroad, they have tried everything to indoctrinate the people with all kinds of false emotive narratives and divert attention from their real objectives. They claim to be fighting for the people and yet randomly kill the same people, destroying their livelihood and stopping their children from going to school. These people are out to destroy Igbo by all means. They are worse than the Fulani and the Caliphate because they are from Igbo states. What has agitation to do with kidnappings, including kidnapping of priests of God? Invasion of churches and tabernacles, including desecration of the altars of God. Why is it that everywhere they gather and in every camp they operate, there is a deity idol to which they routinely offer blood in sacrifice? From accounts of those kidnapped and later freed, the stench of dead bodies in the camps cry up to heaven. We see the videos of them and their idol worship. We note their threats to priests and bishops including threatening to take over some churches. Well, just this week already, they took 2 vehicles from a priest in Oga, Aguata. They went today and took 1 vehicle from him. The next day they went and took another vehicle, promising him that they will return it after they finish the operation with the car. Now everybody is facing attacks in our place. What did the Hausa woman do? I mean, she's from Middle Belt, from Adamawa, Middle Belt. Why kill her? In fact, why kill anybody? Why the beheading? If you are not of the devil, these people deserve more than what they are given, what they are doing to people. The truth is that this tiny minority, certainly far less than 0.1% of us, is bent upon challenging the foundation of the thing that makes us who we are. Enterprise. We are known for our enterprise, but these people are bent on killing our businesses by the forceful sit at home, kidnapping for ransom, forceful taxation of communities, businesses, and individuals, etc. They are terrorists. These people are worse than terrorists, actually, because terrorists in Gaza, they actually maintain their internal security. They provide services, local services in Gaza. You know, ISIS, the territory they manage, they were providing local services. ISIS, when they were in charge of northern Syria and northern Iraq, where US chased them before they ended up in Nigeria. Christianity. The people of the southeast, especially Anambra, are predominantly Christians. But with this gang, idolatry is back with vengeance. They forcefully try to convert people, especially the young ones, to idolatry by initiating them into cults, swearing oaths to their deities, etc., with the promise of invisibility. Consequently, these youths join them as members and informants. Remember the group that is working to deliver us, that is taking oath of initiation under the Ibini Upabi. Desecration of our culture, spilling of the blood of innocents is considered an abomination by our culture and by our Christian religion. Yes, the Bible forbids that we should kill each other. In fact, all extrajudicial killings is evil, including what Nigeria government does routinely. Like, they don't take prisoners, they just kill. We understand that they kill and harvest human organs for rituals and human sacrifices in their so-called camps. With their new religion of idolatry and deadly weapons which they use to kill at random, they have tried to create a culture of fear and silence. More recently, the people have begun to question their propaganda, motive, and means, and they know that they have lost the sympathy of the people. That explains why they desperately try to ignite a national interethnic crisis by killing some innocent northerners who have lived peacefully in our state for decades, to divert attention from their criminality and then seek to rebrand themselves as defenders of the people. They have failed and will continue to fail. Millions of our people live in the north and others on the other parts of Nigeria, and Anambra people are known for their uncommon hospitality. In most homes in Anambra, non-indigenous live happily as tenants or as landlords, pursuing their legitimate businesses, and this won't change. We pride ourselves as the light of the nation, and Anambra will continue to be a land of opportunity for every Nigerian as non-Nigerians. We will continue to work hard with security agencies to ensure security of life and property in our state. Umunnem de Anambra, the hour has come for us to step up our game and take back our state. The tiny but vicious gangs that have invaded our state and terrorized us are mostly in 8 local governments in Anambra and neighboring states, local governments in Imo State. They are in our forests, communities, and houses owned by individuals. They don't come from the air, and hence are not unknown gunmen. They are known. You know them, but are either too scared to speak up or out of indifference. Mr. Governor, how can the people speak up when they are not secure? It is not the responsibility of the people to secure themselves to this, to this level. It's actually the failure of Nigeria that is causing all this problem, because the policing of Nigerians should be from local. All crimes are said to be local. So start with state police. We can't do it. The Constitution doesn't contain that. Well, Nigeria is going to go down in flames. You know, it will happen. But for how long will you be silent while our people continue to be killed in the most cruel and barbaric manner? It is because we have remained ambivalent, opting to sit on the fence rather than take a stand against an obvious evil that has made a minor sore to fester so cancerously. The hour has come. The hour has come. And we must rise up to take our destiny in our hands. Everyone has a role to play while we continue to commit Anambra unto the hands of God. Actually, Anambra State is committed into your hand, Mr. Governor. We as a people must rise up to clean and cleanse our land. The security agencies will continue to do their part. I'm not reading anymore. Nigeria is never lacking in letters. It is in execution that we have problem. Let us go for referendum. That's the long and short of this story. Anambra State will not be secure until we go through referendum, because the criminals know that Nigeria will not respond appropriately. That's why they are doing what they are doing. Those trying to burn Anambra State down are doing what they are doing because they know that Nigeria would watch Ndibo self-destruct. And I recommend instant death to these people who are terrorizing our towns and villages in Anambra State and Imo State. I recommend instant liquidation for them. They don't deserve to be alive. They are not working for the freedom of Ndibo. They are enemies of Ndibo. These people need to be eliminated. Have a nice day. This article is online. The article is titled Peace and Security in Anambra State as Our Collective Responsibility. Indeed, it is our collective responsibility, but there needs to be a functioning system, and that functioning system cannot come from present Nigeria. We need to go through referendum so that the governor can have the power and the mandate, which he already got already. That mandate will become more useful in a free Igbo land, in a free Igbo nation. Through referendum. Let's go for referendum. Otherwise, everything that is written will not happen. I wish peace upon Anambra State and the all Igbo nation and all the indigenous nations. The Lower Niger Territory, Oduduwa, and Middle Belt. It's exciting, looking forward to what could become a possibility in our place. And that is the end of Nigeria. It's not impossible. Nigeria is subject to go down. But the question is, how peaceful or how violently would this be? The Arewa seems to be pushing for violence. But the message of Ninas is to go through a peacefully organized, UN-monitored, binding multi-regional referendum. There lies a lot. A lot is riding on this. Messing with it is like destroying Nigeria further. Peace to the nations of these West African emerging nations. Peace unto them.
Dịrị onye iru mma, dịrị onye azụ mma, dịrị nwoke, nwaanyị, okorobịa, nwa agbọghọ, ụmụaka, ndị ụka, ndị na-azụ afịa, ndị ụmụ akwụkwọ, ndị niile ezigbo ife dị mma n'obi, ya gazie. Ụbọchị tata asị m ka anyị kparịkwa. Ụbọchị tata bụ mkpụrụ ụbọchị 3 n'ime Febụwarị na afọ 2022. Anyị sị ka anyị welukwe ozi ekene wee bịakwa ka anyị kọwakwala ụnụ ife ụfọdụ dị iche iche dị mkpa ka anyị malụ. Ọ ga-adị m mma ka m welu ife na-abụ kọwaa n'asụsụ Igbo ka anyị kọwalie onwe anyị, maka na mmaha asị na mmacha ihe niile. Nke mma agwakwanụ m onye ikwu na ibe m, gwa ndị enyi m nke ha makwa anụrụkwa m. Ọkwa ya bụ na njem a na-aga. So onwe ihe ndị bekee na-akpọ identity na nke a na-akpọ ideology. Ọkpụrụkpụ okwu na-aba ka m chọrọ ka anyị neba anya n'ime. So Igbo bụ identity, Biafra bụ ideology. So onye nwa ka nsị ka anyị kpalita n'efifi a, ka anyị wee gwalitakwa onwe anyị okwu, ka anyị gwa onwe anyị nke bụ eziokwu. Nke ahụ bụ eziokwu ya edufe anyị ebe anyị kwesịrị ịnọ, duje anyị ebe anyị kwesịrị ịnọ, na ife anyị kwesịrị imele onwe anyị. Na mbụ, Igbo bụ identity anyị. Ọ dị ka akara, birthmark. Igbo anyị bụ identity maka na anyị nwere omenala, anyị nwere asụsụ, anyị nwere nri anyị na-eri, enwere nri eji malụ ndị Igbo, enwere ekike eji malụ ndị Igbo, enwere asụsụ eji malụ ndị Igbo, enwere ntọ na ana omenala eji malụ ndị Igbo, nke dị iche na ebe ndị ọzọ dị. Dịka ndị Awụsa nwere nke ha, ndị Yoruba nwere nke ha, ndị Igbo nwere nke ha, ndị TV nwere nke ha. So nkata ka nsị ka anyị kwuo. So ndị Igbo nwere identity, ada efichapụ ya efichapụ, ada apachi ya apachi, ka asị ọ dịghị mma ebe a, ka a kụọ ya kụọ ya akụrụngwa, ka eme ya ịma anwe ka esi eme ya. Igbo kwụrụ onwe ya, Igbo jụrụ eju. Igbo bụ ndị nwere ana a na-akpọ Igbo land. Otu Yoruba si wee nwee Yoruba land, otu Hausa si nwee Hausa land, otu England si wee dị Ireland, Dutchland, Finland, Netherlands, Switzerland. Ka unu wee ghọta mkpa ọ dị n'ihe gbasalụ ana land, Igbo land. Maka o nwere ndị Chineke kelu dobe ya na ana anwa a na-akpọ ancestral land. O nwere onye ya bịa ịzọsa ndị Igbo ebe anwa. Ndị Igbo ama m zọsakwa ndị ọzọ na ana nke ha. Ime nya ị na-emelụ ana. So ọ bụrụ na mmiri dị n'ala Igbo, ọ ndị Igbo nwe ya. Ọ bụrụ na mmanụ dị n'ala Igbo, ọ bụ ndị Igbo nwe ya. Ọnọdụ kịta ka nkwụ na-eto n'ala Igbo, ọ mmanụ ka ọ bụkwa. Ndị Igbo nwere enwejie ya aka. Then ngafeta n'akụkụ nke Biafra. Biafra bụ ideology. Ideology is not identity. Ideology, enwere ike ịpachi ideology ma ịma itinye akụkụ anụnwa okwu ha gị esi ka isi akụkụ nke ọzọ. Isi ka isi akụkụ nke ọzọ. Ka kpakwa ya aka, reshape onye, modify ya anya. Ideology. Ideology na identity abụghị ofu ife ka fa bụ. Ọ bụrụkwa na ofu ife ka ha na-akọwa. maka Biafra enweghị asụsụ, Biafra enweghị ntọnaanị culture, Biafra enweghị ihe eji malụfa, Biafra enwero ekike ma ọ bụ ụdị ekike ha na-eke ma ụdị nnifa na-eri. Otu a ka ọ dịkwa iwelu Biafra ịbịa tikọ ya na Naịjirịa. Enwere ife a na-akpọ Biafra land, enwere ife a na-akpọ Naịjirịa land. Biafra nwere ihe dịka mmiri, otu Naịjirịa si nwe ihe dịka mmiri. Bight of Biafra, River Niger. Nigeria was imposed on us. Ofu nwaanyị onye ọcha na-akpọ Flora Shaw bụ onye na-egide sị ka ya nyefe afọ anụnwa Nigeria, ka ha zaba Nigeria. Mana otu ahụ ka ọ dịkwa, Chief Opigo wee kpanitekwa wee sị ka ya suggestie Biafra, ka enwere identify ya ndị a na-egbu n'ugwu Awụsa oge afọ. Ha wee necha anya wee sị ọ dị mma. Ojukwu wee wenie ya wee mere afa. Mana chetakwa na Ojukwu anwa n'oge anụcha anya bụ ọgụ ọ pụrụ mesịa nachiyata. Ihe ọ zakwa bụ ezi Igbo gburugburu, ọzọ akwa eze Biafra gburugburu. Kuchu na-adịkwa ya. Chief Frank Opigo, onye nke wepụtara afọ a, etufughọkwa ịjọ ọ bụ si n'ozi Biafra bụ identity ya. Ọ na-azakwa ịjọ, ndị ịjọ na-azakwa ịjọ, wele ịjọ na-eme ngala. Ka ezi ka onye esi bụrụzie ndị Igbo anyị, ebe Ojukwu si na afa obodo anyị awụzi Biafra, emegide ihe niile a wụọ naanị. Ojukwu zaba eze Igbo gburugburu, ọza ha eze Biafra gburugburu. So ụmụnne m, ihe m ji ekwu akọwa ihe a bụ ka anyị tụlee anya. Maka ụfọdụ ụmụ nwaanyị na-apụta ha sị a na-agwa ụmụ ha na ha bụ ndị Biafra. Ụmụaka tokwa faga anyị ihe a na-akpọ identity crisis. Gwanụnụ ha na ha bụ ndị Igbo ebe ọ na-asụrụ ha Igbo. Maka nwatakịrị a nwere ike jụọ gị kedu asụsụ eji malụ ndị Biafra, gịnị ka ya agwa ya? Isi ya Igbo ka ya asị ya Ijọ, ka ya asị ya Ishekiri, ka ya asị ya Orobo. Kedu ihe o ji wee bụrụ ndị Igbo bụ ihe a n'isi? Enwere ndị nwere ike faghọta ha na Biafra anụnwa bụ ihe eji egwu ha wayo. Enwere ndị otu anyị si wee kọwalụ ha ha bụrụ otu anwa, ha enweghị ike ige ndị ọzọ ntị ka ha ghọta cheki anya akụkụ a, cheki anya akụkụ a ka ịmalụ nke ka mma maọbụ nke bụ eziokwu. Agwa gị Biafra, a ga-enye gị Biafra, ịjụ hozi kedu ka anyị esi wee nye anyị Biafra nwa. Wee welụ ya na egwu ndị mmadụ wayo, were na-anakọrọ ndị mmadụ ego. Ọkwa ụfọdụ ka a na-eme ya bụ ife, mana ndị anwa a na-eme ihe a ka anyị na-asị ngwa kwụsịgodụnụ, chie echiche cheba anyị ime, jụgere onwe gị abụ m onye Igbo kama abụ onye Biafra. Ka ya na-aghọtakọ otu a, ka ị na-aghatọkọ ya, ka ị na-aghatọkọ na-eme ndị gị na ha na-arụkọ ọrụ, a na-ene anya ma ndị a ọmakwa nke ha so, kedu ebe ha kwụ, kedu ebe ha so eso. Ewelu Biafra wee tiwaa ndị Igbo, kewasịa ndị Igbo. Ndị Igbo amazi ebe ha kwụ. O nwere egwu nchọrọ ego, asị Igbo amaka mma o, Igbo amaka mma o, Igbo amaka mma, mana ụfọdụ ụmụ Igbo mebiri Igbo. Igbo amaka mma o, ala Igbo amaka mma o, ụmụ Igbo amaka mma o, mana ụfọdụ ụmụ Igbo mebiri Igbo. Mma ha asịzi Igbo ntọ mba. mana ụfọdụ ndị a mebiri Igbo bụ ndị anyị na-ekwu ha amaghọ identity fa maka na abịa gwafa unu bụ Biafra ha welie nnukwu wee na-achụ Biafra na-agba a na-achụ ya ịma nwetakwanụ Biafra anwa ma ọ bụrụ na iso ebe ndị Igbo kwu maka ndị Igbo na ndị Ijọ na ndị Urobo na ndị Yoruba na ndị TV na ndị Awụsa ha ncha niile si ndị Naijiria nọbidoro ha na anyị nwa bụ ndị nwana ha ncha niile wee jikọọ ọnụ wee nọdụ no movement of the owners of the land a na-akpọ NINAS, Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. And na NINAS abịa kewaa ngalaba ịtọ ahụ bụ ndị Middle Belt ma Awụsa ma TV ma Jukun ma Igbira ma Idoma ma Nupe ha ncha niile nọ na Middle Belt. Ha bịa nwekwa ngalaba nke ọzọ ndị Yoruba, the Odua Yoruba Nation, ofu asụsụ kafa nwelu, ofu omenala kafa nwelu, ofu ụdị ekike kafa na-eke. Na-akpọ ha ndị ofe mmanụ. Ikwura ndị ofe mmanụ amalụgo ndị a na-ekwu maka fa. Ha nwa nọ na blọk ọzọ. Ndị nke anyị bụ ndị Fulani nyelu Caliphate nyelu South na South East bụ ndị nọ under Lower Niger block. Onye ka o ji abụ ị na-akpọ ị na-ekwu indigenous nationality, ethnic nationality. Igbo is an ethnic nation. Igbo bụ nation nke ya. Ijọ bụ nation nke ya maka ha ncha niile nwere ancestral land a na-akpọ Ijọ land, Igbo land, Ishekiri land, Ogoni land, Bini Kingdom, Asian land, Ibibio land, Efik land. Ha ncha niile nọ n'ime Lower Niger block. Unu ma ndị kele anyị kedisi anyị ha ọkwa ndị Caliphate ndị Fulani na-ejelu ndị Britain ozi wee kelicha anyị were ụmụnna anyị ndị Igbo tinye na nke ha kpọrọ Rivers, were ụmụnna anyị ndị Igbo tinye na nke ha kpọrọ Delta. Ọkwa ha gụchara anyị afọ a kpa anyị ndị Anambra, kpa anyị ndị Abia, kpa anyị ndị Ebonyi, kpa anyị ndị Enugu, kpa anyị ndị Imo, wee weluzie akwụkwọ eji achị a na-akpọ constitution wezie ya na-emezi nke ha na-akpọkwa election. Unu nwere ike chọọ onye a ezigbo mmadụ ka ọ chịa, ha nwa achọ onye na-ejelu ha ozi tinye ebe ahụ, o nwere ife ị ga-eme ime mgbanwe ya. Ejekwa n'ụlọ ikpe, ndị ụlọ ikpe ya ejikwa akwụkwọ ikike ahụ a na-akpọ constitution welukwa etinye onye ha chọrọ. Gịnị ka ị ga-eme? Imesịa mkpọtụ ịba ime ụlọ. Ọnọdụ ka nke a melụ n'Imo, mana o nwere ụka Chineke si eme ife maka na akwa anyị eruo onye a ntị. Ekpere anyị na-ekpe elugo n'ebe ọ nọ. O wee wepụta ndị nwere ọgụgụ isi, wepụta ndị ma ka anyị esi wee nụọ nyabụ ọgụ na-eji ha mma na-eji ha egbe kama na ọgụgụ isi ka anyị eji nụọ nyabụ ọgụ. Wee wepụta ndị a wee bido na-akọnyabụ ife wee lụzie oge falulu wee sị ngwa onye ọbụla tinye n'isi. ọ gbalụ
nke a bụ ala dị mma ka nwanne anyị nwaanyị na gụrụ anyị n'olu Igbo ala dị mma epistle oziọma nke ndị ala dị mma otu ọ ga-adị wee dịrị anyị mma. Udo dịrị unu ka unu na-ege. Nke a bụ nkeji mbụ ya. Ọ ga-adị ụzọ abụọ ụzọ ịtọ ka ọ ga-adị tupu ọ na-agwụ. Nọdụ n'ọfụma. Udo dịrị Igbo. On insecurity, the governor of Benue State points directly to the right direction, that the federal government of Nigeria is an accomplice. By Autumn, February 10, 2022, today. Benue State Governor Samuel Autumn on Wednesday said the reason for his constant cry was that he was not elected to preside over displaced persons or dead bodies. Autumn stated this when he received in audience the Director General of the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, Mrs. Cecilia Gaya, who couldn't come by herself but was also represented by Goodluck Audu. The governor said, having foreseen the danger herdsmen invasion on communities might pose to the nation, he decided to raise the alarm, and his administration came up with the anti-open grazing law. I must add that Benue State has seen a lot of killings by the Fulani jihadists, the Fulani herdsmen terrorists, brought into the country, and some paid by the governor of Kaduna, Nasser El-Rufai. He admitted it on a live TV appearance that he traveled to countries in Africa to pay these people money to stop killing, yet they are coming. So he was funding them to come and do their job that way. And the federal government opened up the borders for these criminals to come in and kill people all over the place, going as far as the Akwa Ibom, southeast, south-south, middle belt, lower Niger territory area, Oduduwa land. Sunday Boho is in jail because of these people, their activities. And for trying to stop them, they planted gun and everything and invaded his house and killed a few number of people, and killed animals too. Nigerian government officials are animal abusers, just as they are abusing their own people. That's why the priest will sit in the water, the fake priest sit in the water, telling people to essentially drown animals in order to make money. Anyway, the governor saw something happening and made a law for open grazing through the state assembly. He said his allegiance was to his people, and he lamented that he faced death threats as a result, but was not afraid of death. Autumn said, "At 61, I am no longer afraid of death. In fact, I have prepared my will so that if I die, my people will not fight over my property." God bless your heart. I feel so sad when I try to make public what is happening in Benue State and across Nigeria, I must add, and people castigate me and insult me, but I remain committed to serving my people. Which southeastern governor can open his mouth and say this boldly, that he remains steadfastly to serving his people, other than attending to the caliphate's business interest and the British business interest in our area? They don't care about our people. That's why criminal gangs are taking over the southeast, killing people at Umuchu, at Kurabia, at Uga, at Onitsha, at Aba, all over the place. They are invading Newi, everywhere. They are killing our people. And they claim to be fighting for our liberation. They snatch vehicles in the open. Police are on the run. Police, the so-called police, maybe that's why they are taking less bribes now, because they cannot even take bullets anymore. They see unknown gunmen, they run. The roads of Imo State is now dominated by police that are not wearing uniform. You can see them wearing all kinds of rags, like disguising themselves so that the unknown gunmen don't recognize them easily. And of course, I was not elected to preside over IDPs, that is internally displaced people's camps, and dead people. And if something is beyond me, at least I can raise the alarm for others to come and help me to solve this problem. Well, Governor Autumn, I must advise you here, if you ever tune into this people's channel, Lower Niger Territory Radio, if you ever hear it online, there is a group that is championing the deliverance of your people in the Middle Belt as well as in the Lower Niger Territory and Oduduwa Nation. That group is called Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. hook up with the leaders of this group and have a chat and take it from there. Referendum is achievable for your people to be secured. It is done all over the world. Eritrea did it to get out of Ethiopia. South Sudan did it to get out of Sudan, which is now North Sudan. East Timor did it to get away from the chokehold of Indonesia. Scotland has done it once in my lifetime. I saw them go to vote, but they failed. Quebec did it 1995. They also failed by a percentage point or so. Europe have always gone through referendum to resolve differences. UK went through referendum to get out of the European Union just not up to 3 years ago. So many countries has gone through this process. Africa's own must not be different. That is what we serve the people of Benue State, people of Adamawa, people of Taraba, people of Plateau, people of Anambra State, Imo State, Abia State, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Yoruba Land. Sunday Boho will not be in jail now if Nigeria has been a just society. And it is because of that we call for referendum, a multi-regional binding referendum to be supervised by the United Nations. That is the vote our people want to vote for. Not who replaces Muhammadu Buhari under the same constitution of 1999 that is fully rejected and repudiated by all our people in the Middle Belt, Oduduwa Land, and Lower Niger Territory. He accused the federal government of complicity in the security problem in the country. And of course, I was not elected to preside over IDP camps and dead people. If something is beyond me, at least I can raise the alarm for others to come and help me to solve this problem. He accused the federal government of complicity in the security problem in the country. On the training of civil servants by ASCON, Autumn said the civil service remained the engine room of any administration, as it was responsible for the success and failure of any government. So what is the situation with Nigeria? Leadership failed Nigeria, leadership that is based on a very criminal document, the constitution that allows idiots to rule over princes and princesses. Forgive my French. This is what has destroyed the country further. And since nothing good can come out of this 1999 constitution, the right decision to make for Nigerians is to stop further election, to repeat the same cycle all over, because another thief can only come to protect the interest of other thieves, just like what they did in Abia State. Orji Uzor Kalu robbed Abia State, and at the end of the day, he replaced himself with another crook, who after robbing the state now put this other one that talks about hot water and pouring hot water on the asphalt to cause road well built to start melting. That's what do they call him? Ibazu from Ngwangwa. Anyway, the whole thing is this. For us to know true freedom, we must go through referendum. Anything short of this is a waste of time. And the government knows that this is the right solution to take. They know that things are not going very well. But they are just deceiving themselves, carrying on as if everything is okay. Nothing is okay. Nigeria is in crisis. Nigeria is in deep crisis. Nigeria is imploding from within. There's a lot of hatred among the people. The people are feeling insecure everywhere. There is a lot of horrible things going on. I saw flaring going on at Port Harcourt. If you come out in the night, you will know why Port Harcourt is hot in the afternoon. Because there is flaring going on all over the place, gas flaring by oil companies. Fire is burning in the city. The pantries, the palm fronds are getting burnt. Literally, you can see it burnt. The grass, the green, everything is looking like it's burning up. In a country where oil and gas is being extracted and nothing is being enforced to protect life and the environment. Nigeria hates everything in Nigeria, including the land. That's unfortunate. This has been your guy, Stephen.
The U.S. Center for Security Policy declares that Nigeria under Buhari is in SLS situation and recommends immediate intervention before it explodes. The speaker in the following article is Frank Gaffney, introducing the segment of coordinated press conferences on Nigeria at the National Press Club, Washington, D.C. on January 17, 2019, with the theme Nigeria at Breaking Point, where Tony Nnadi of the LNC made a lead presentation. Below in the comment section is also a clip from Tony Nnadi's presentation. Enjoy listening.
Again, the purpose of this event is to try to make sure that the Congress of the United States, the administration of this country, our friends and allies around the world, and not least, of course, people of goodwill in this country and elsewhere, are on notice that Nigeria is at risk of disastrous collapse, that the forces that we've just been talking about are in the process of taking down a country that is the most populous in Africa, with horrific implications, not just for the immediate vicinity, the Lake Chad region as it's known, but for that continent and almost certainly others beyond. Congressman Wolf mentioned Bono, talking about a catastrophe that would make what has happened to Europe in the past few years, as a relatively small number of people migrated there with unbelievably chaotic consequences, look like a day at the beach by comparison. But we're on notice. And the question is, do we have to wait until this horror is upon us before something is done about it? Or do we take steps now to try to prevent that? And I don't think any of us is saying that this is a panacea, but the appointment of the appropriate individual with the requisite authority. I just wanted to underscore what Congressman Wolf said about having the President of the United States essentially personally empowering Senator Danforth to lead the effort on behalf of our country to alleviate that situation. That has to be done again, and it has to be an empowering of a person with the stature and the capabilities needed to do two really vital things. One is to pull together the government agencies that have responsibility for pieces of a problem like Nigeria. The Defense Department, as well as, of course, the State Department, USAID, the UN mission of the United States, the National Security Council, and others, to come together with a common, appropriate, and much needed policy approach. And then secondly, at least as importantly, to be able authoritatively to represent what that approach is to the government of Nigeria. So they know who they're dealing with. They know that this is in fact the policy, and they can't go, looking for people who will provide some sort of alternative that might not require as much of them. So it's those two vitally important things that have to be done. And on behalf of, again, the Save the Persecuted Christians Coalition and team, I just want to say I think this is a moment of truth, a moment when we will find a difference being made by an administration that is about making a difference on behalf of religious freedom and those who are being denied it around the world. And let me just take a moment to say, as bad as this situation is, it is just one of the areas in the world in which particularly Christians are suffering. By some estimates, it's as small a number as 215 million Christians being brutally persecuted. By others, it's as high as 500,000. Excuse me, $500 million. This is on our watch. It is unconscionable. It must be challenged, contested, and if possible, stopped. And that's what this coalition is about. And I pray that we will be able, with the help of people like Congressman Estes and Congressman Wolf and the Archbishop and our coalition and countless others, to see this problem sorted by the appointment at the earliest possible moment, preferably by the end of this year, because these elections are approaching, of an individual with the requisite authority of the President of the United States and the assignment of making both the U.S. government policy coherent and clear and effective, and communicating that, again, authoritatively to the government of Nigeria, who in the end is ultimately responsible for preventing this catastrophe.
Nice idea, but it won't help. It'll just formalize the reality that poor countries can never repay their loans.
Senator, are you saying that you're opposed to debt relief for impoverished countries?
No, we should forgive the debts, but that's not going to help those countries very much.
Okay. What will?
Tax cuts. Some African tax rates are the highest in the world. In Tanzania, the 30% rate kicks in at $475 of income. Plus, they have a 20% value-added tax. It gets added to everything you buy. Those high tax rates make it impossible to build capital in those countries. So nothing gets built, not factories, not roads, not anything. Poor African countries have the lowest wage workers in the world. And yet a company like Nike, for instance, can't put a factory in one of those countries because of the oppressive tax rates. Taxes have killed any possibility of economic development. They've killed any hope of these countries ever helping themselves. And that leaves them completely at the mercy of charity and loans. And here's the worst part. You know why those countries have such high tax rates? Because of us. To show us that they can raise enough money to pay back their loans. But taxes can't raise any money if they kill the economies. So it turns out that the tragic, unintended consequence of our good intentions toward Africa, our kindness, is that we have encouraged those countries to lock themselves into a gruesome economic depression. If we don't...
You see the dilemma of African countries. We borrow and continue to borrow to service the interest. Beggar nations. That's what Africa has been reduced to. And that's why China is taking over, gradually and steadily.
Urge those countries to cut their tax rates, they will never grow their economies. People will live lifetimes of unemployment. Disease will be rampant. Poverty will be permanent. And children will be hungry. And our charity will never be enough. Never.
Those that were shot at Lekki 2 Plaza in Lagos last year, October 20th, were hungry for justice, hungry for security, hungry for peace, hungry for development, and hungry for normalcy, hungry for a normal country. They got shot, and their blood was washed away by way of cover-up by Major General Muhammadu Buhari's government. How could that satisfy the aspirations of the people to be free in their own country?
Let the worry me, make you give me joy. We don't say worry.
Budgets are bloated up to cater to the needs of the president and his vice and other ministers. I mean, corruption got taken to the next level by those who came to fight corruption. All tied to the 1999 Constitution. Everything that is happening to Nigerians is tied to the slave document known as the military-imposed 1999 Constitution. It has no progress attached to it. It's only destruction and ruination of the country.
Christians suffer the worst persecution in the world. China, Iran, Somalia. International Christian Concern has just unveiled its 2021 report on the top persecutors of the year. ICC lists 3 top persecutors this year: the worst country, worst group of persecutors, and the worst individual persecuting Christians. Well, joining us to discuss this year's list and to explain about what's happening around the world is ICC President Jeff King. Jeff, it's good to talk with you again. So let's get right into it. The worst country persecuting Christians this year. Surprise, it's not North Korea. Which country is it and why?
Well, yeah, Kim Jong-un, North Korea, it's always going to be a top performer, right? But what we looked at was like how many Christians are being killed presently. Is it a problem that's not addressed? We chose Nigeria. It's a surprise for a lot of people. But Gary, in the last 20 years, 100,000 Christians have been killed. 3 million plus Christians have had their lands, farms, homes stolen from them, and the government is part of the problem. So we chose Nigeria.
Well, I know a lot of people say Nigeria, that's just Fulani herdsmen and so forth, but it goes well beyond that. Tell us a little more.
Well, this is the problem. We work in Washington, D.C., and we're working with the government. And so that's the line that comes from the Nigerian government. They want to frame this as a conflict between farmers and herders. It's not a conflict. It's a one-sided war. It's a genocide against Christians. There's Boko Haram also, but the Fulanis have done much more damage. The Fulanis are going in. These are armed groups that go in and shoot up Christian villages and take their land. And what's going on is it's a war that never ends, is never addressed. The Nigerian military never goes after the attackers. There's no arrests, there's no battles, there's nothing. And the reason is that, look, Muslims are in control of the police, the army and the intel agencies. So the whole security apparatus of Nigeria is controlled by the Muslims. And so the fix is in is the phrase. It's like it never gets fixed. It's never addressed. Nothing ever happens.
Okay, Jeff, let's move on then and discuss the worst group persecuting Christians this year. It's not Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab. Who is it? What are they doing?
Well, it's the Taliban. And Gary, look, the Taliban has been, torturing, murdering Christians for years. The problem is that now they are in control of a state, and they have a potent intel security apparatus set up by us, but now they're in control of it. They're calling Christian leaders. We know you. We're watching you. We're going to come get you. They're going door to door. And unfortunately, just this past 2 weeks, they grabbed the first Christian. And what happens is they'll torture him. They'll find out who the other Christians are he knows. And then if he won't turn back to Islam, they'll kill him. And there's going to be a whole bunch of that.
Well, a lot to pray about on that. Now, the worst government leader or person persecuting Christians, it's not Canada's Justin Trudeau for shutting down churches and arresting pastors during the COVID pandemic. So which government leader did you list as the top persecutor targeting Christians, and why?
Well, you already nailed it. It's North Korea and it's Kim Jong-un. So either the country or he are going to show up in the top list. But look, the whole North Korean state exists to serve him and to keep him in power and the Kims in power. So we chose him as the individual doing the worst job against Christians, doing the most persecution against Christians. I think people know it, but look, if a Christian is caught with the Bible, if they're a real Christian, the regime will take 3 generations of one family and stick them in prison for life. And these are prison camps that are designed to slowly kill off people.
And of course, we know that you have to worship the leader there. Juche is their faith, and that's worship of their leadership. I know there are many other countries of concern, especially, let's say, India, where attacks against Christians are on the rise. Tell us what's happening there, Jeff.
Well, India is especially disturbing, Gary, because India has a constitution that guarantees religious freedom, and they have a tremendous track record. But what's happened is you have some hyper-nationalists, some fundamentalist Hindus that have gained control. The Prime Minister Modi, is a radical Hindu. His party, the BJP, these are radical Hindus. They believe quite fervently that India is only for Hindus, and in India and Hinduism are fused, and there's no room for anybody else, and they're doing everything they can to slowly strangle Christianity. You won't hear it from his lips. He's a smart politician. Listen to the BJP leaders, listen to his leaders in the party. You'll hear it quite clearly. They're not shy about it.
And Jeff, I know China and Pakistan, those are always places of concern. And you've been to many of these countries. You've met with many persecuted believers around the world. Which country really is driving you to your knees in prayer right now? Maybe what one should we keep our eyes on?
Well, I pray for Nigeria constantly. We do a lot of work with the victims there. The 3 million plus that have already lost everything. Their homes have been stolen. 70 to 100,000 killed. The government is part of the problem, because just like you said, the government says this is just herders and farmers. It's a conflict. It's nothing but, and they are complicit in the attacks on Christians.
Okay, I know that you're hoping this report will put more pressure on these governments to affect change. Jeff King, president of International Christian Concern. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing your time and insights. We appreciate you and the work you're doing.
Love you guys and what you're doing, Gary. Thank you so much.
God bless.
To say that Nigeria is a fraudulent country or a joke is an understatement. Countries that produce just one resource or two are doing very well. Countries that are not producing anything, I mean, look at Hong Kong, for example. Hong Kong does not export anything, but Hong Kong is a trading hub. Different people from around the world go to Hong Kong to trade. They go there to buy goods, finished goods produced in China, of which Chinese cannot come to Hong Kong to sell, but Hong Kong-based citizens, they sell those products to people like from Nigeria who can get to to Hong Kong, but they can't enter into China. Hong Kong is a center for global stock exchanges, trades. Hong Kong is a tourist destination. Hong Kong is not known to be an oil producing or gold producing or any solid mineral producing place, but it's doing well. Same thing can be said about other countries. Singapore is as it is today because of oil and gas, until they attracted other technologies. And so Nigeria, that's supposed to be like United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia. Nigeria is borrowing money. Instead of lending money, Nigeria is borrowing. The beggars that are ruling Nigeria, the Fulani beggars that are ruling Nigeria, continue to go cap in hand, so much so that they cannot continue the rail project they are doing in other parts of the country except the east. They cannot even continue those projects because they are sharing money. They are sharing the oil money, the 3 million barrels that brings $90 as at yesterday, $92 per barrel. So Nigeria is getting so much money every day from oil and gas. They are doing nothing with it. They are sharing it. No development, no road, nothing. They go to Abuja to share money from the Niger Delta. And then the places in Niger Delta are consumed. The river state is burning on fire. Palm trees, you can see palm fronds are burnt in Port Harcourt. I saw it. They are flaming gas. Instead of capturing those gas to convert it into energy, Nigeria is burning it and it's heating up the atmosphere. If you are in Port Harcourt City, you know how hot it is for you. What is causing that? That is the gas they are flaring. In the night, step outside your house. Or if you are living in 2-story, 3-story, just go up. Look around Port Harcourt. You will see different flames going up in different locations. That's the country they want to bequeath us. That's the country they want us to bequeath to our children. A country of lawlessness. A country where criminals are leading. A country where terrorists are holding key positions in government without batting any eyelid, because the commander-in-chief is the leader of the gang. That's the country we're talking about. That's the country we're talking about, referendum, that it is unavoidable. And that's the country that is skirting around it.
Now, a lot of things are there floating around from government sources, from neoliberal sources. We know that as we speak today, the IMF continues to pile pressure, the IMF and the World Bank continues to pile pressure on our government to remove subsidy, to devalue the naira, and so on and so forth. And so, our observations include our countering arguments to the arguments that are being made by these elements as Nigerians, and should further underline the fact that our ruling class is very shameless, is that Nigeria is the only member of OPEC. Mind you, a Nigerian will be stepping down, has been the General Secretary of OPEC for the past 8 years. Will be stepping down in June of this year, okay, after completing his 2 terms. But Nigeria is the only member of OPEC country that imports more than 90 to 95% of refined petroleum products to meet our domestic needs and consumption. In other OPEC countries, the reverse is the case. All other OPEC countries meet their domestic requirements through domestic refining capacity, through their own domestic refineries, and then they export. We are the only country that our refineries have we have 4 refineries that have not been able to refine any product in the last 6 years. People are working, managements are there, and money is being spent. Another reason given by the regime and all previous regimes is the narrative around the price of fuel being much cheaper in Nigeria than in our neighboring countries in West Africa. And so they said that because of the subsidy that they have put there, the price is cheaper in Nigeria. And because it's cheaper in Nigeria, it encourages smuggling to other countries. We are going to show you now how fallacious that statement is. So let us examine this fallacious claim. Today, currently, the figures have been bandied around that Nigeria consumes between 54 million liters per day and 90 million liters per day. Sometimes the figure between what they say we consume and what is imported is also extremely very different. Now, in the last 6 months of 2021, on the average, ruling class economists and apologists kept telling us that close to 50 million liters of PNS, petrol, was being smuggled across our borders on a daily basis. Now let us tell you why this figure is a complete lie. Now, 50 million liters of fuel will require 1,600 fuel tankers with a capacity of 33,000 liters. That means the biggest tankers, the long ones, not the small ones. It will require each 1,600 each to transport across our borders on a daily basis, 50 million liters. What this means is that you need 1,600 trucks to cross the border and come back into Nigeria every day. That's 2 trips. 2 trips a day to go, come back, so that they can go back tomorrow again and on a daily basis. And so we ask ourselves, tankers are not needles. Tankers are not spirits. They are not. So how can 1,600 tankers cross our borders? Even if we have a 1,600 kilometer border line, even if each one is positioned and they cross from each 1 kilometer apart, how can a ruling class actually justify the fact that 1,600 tankers cross its border every day, 2 trips every day? This requires a driver, at least one loader. That is 3,200 persons are involved in this trade. Just there. What about security? But so it's simply a fallacious argument. It is either it is not true, or that the Nigerian state is complicit in the smuggling, and that the Nigerian state is actually providing protection for the smuggling. It's either of those two. It cannot be anything else. When in January 2012, the Goodluck Jonathan regime unconscionably hiked fuel prices in the name of removing fuel subsidy, there was a justifiable mass outrage, and it precipitated the January uprising of 2012, also known as Occupy Nigeria. Recall that the exact same reasons given by the Goodluck Jonathan regime are the same reasons that this current regime is also giving. So they are saying our refineries are moribund. Jonathan said that 10 years ago, our refineries are moribund. Buhari is saying it 10 years after, our refineries are moribund. Okay? In 2012, Labour and Civil Society made demands. We put on the table, we said, look, how long does it take to build refineries, and how much does it cost? We agreed then that it will cost between $1.5 billion and $2 billion to build a refinery with a capacity of about 400,000 barrels per day. They said it will take 2 years. This is how many years? 10 years. Neither the 4 refineries that were moribund in 2012 are now bound in 2022, nor have new refineries been built since then. So the problem is really simple. As long as we don't have domestic refining capacity, as long as we continue to import, as long as our currency continues to be floated against the dollar, for so long shall we continue to have a differential between the landing cost and the pump price. Otherwise, what you are saying is that you are saying market forces to determine the pump price, which means that on a weekly basis, you are going to be having 10, 20, 30 naira difference increase in the price of fuel per liter. No responsible government or ruling class should be doing that. Now, what makes the matter even very sad is that in the 10 years since January uprising of 2012, the 4 public refineries have remained moribund. No new refineries have been built. Yet, Nigeria's government, the 2 governments since 2012, have spent $9.5 billion on turnaround maintenances of the 4 moribund refineries that are still not producing anything. The last one is the $1.5 billion that was approved by the National Assembly in 2021 for Port Harcourt refinery. Up to now, nothing. In addition to this $9.5 billion that has been wasted over turnaround maintenance in 2012, in the last 6 years, Nigeria's government has spent additional $6 billion on other people's investments. The NNPC has spent $2.7 billion to buy stake in Dangote refinery. When Dangote was going to have a problem with the debt repayment, we built Dangote out by buying stocks, $2.7 billion. Meanwhile, the Dangote refinery itself is being built because the Nigerian government offered very watery incentives, including tax, holidays, and so on, for that refinery to be built. Then, we all recall that under Jonathan, there was a phone fair in the last 2 years when the so-called Greenwich refineries were being contracted out. 4 of them. They signed memorandum of understanding for 3 of the contracts. Nigeria's government invested $1 billion each in 3 of those Greenwich refineries, some of which you can no longer even trace where the supposed land, where the refineries is supposed to be built. One was supposed to be in Kogi State, $3 billion. Another private sector investment, public revenue. And yet, in spite of all of this, we still import 95% of our refined products. What is even more intriguing and amazing is that despite all this investment and these failures, no one has been held accountable. The difference between failure and success in businesses is that managements are held accountable. I mean, it doesn't matter whether they are publicly owned or they are privately owned. The difference is that in the private sector, the shareholders will most likely very quickly sack a failing management. So why can't we do the same thing for the public sector? We have invested $9.5 billion in failed turnaround maintenances. People have continued to be in the management, senior management of the refineries and NNPC since then. And what are they doing there? Now, another rules that the government has posited, particularly in 2019, was the rules of the transition to compressed natural gas, CNG. And the CBN set aside 250 billion naira to make that transition. The first question is, where is the 250 billion right now? The second question is that the transition to CNG requires a number of things. One, it requires that you invest in the infrastructure to convert the fuel combustion engines into the ones that are gas compression based. Okay? So you need to do that. You need to have that infrastructure across the country. The second is that you also need to have the infrastructure to dispense CNG instead of PMS across the country. So, does any Nigeria know any filling station that has been converted or new one that has been built to dispense CNG? Does any Nigeria know of anybody who owns a vehicle whose been converted into CNG. So that's the issue. That's the questions that we must ask.
Nigeria's story is endless.
250 billion was voted in 2019.
And yet it is difficult to get the people on the street to demonstrate against this open crime. Nigeria's continued existence is a crime to humanity, especially Nigerians.
What is our problem with the gas crisis? The
That's
gas
very
crisis
sad.
is simply that we were supposed to make cooking gas available and accessible, and there's the liquefied petroleum gas programs and projects. Then those projects started becoming moribund, like the refineries. Then the government went to NNLG, which was set up for export of gas. To say, okay, bail us out. Start earmarking a certain percentage for liquefied petroleum gas for the country. And then, of course, those ones said they would have to import the gas because the one that they are producing is not for that purpose. So they started importing, and it was okay until the federal government now increased custom and excise duties on imported gas. Then the price of gas went out of the market. So you can see that it's the same problem with the fuel crisis, that we don't have that capacity to produce and manufacture liquefied petroleum gas domestically. Again, with electricity, that's why we have combined all of this as energy crisis. Again, with electricity. With fanfare in 2013, the power sector was privatized, Abi. And then we had GENCOs and DISCOs. Between 2013 and now, there's only been a marginal increase in what is called the available evacuation capacity, from 3,400 megawatts to 5,400 megawatts. And the transmission capacity has only been improved from 5,000 megawatts to 7,000 megawatts. The long and short of it is that all of us remain in darkness. But beyond that, federal authorities have invested not less than 2.7 trillion naira of public funds as intervention funds to DISCOs and GENCOs that are supposed to be privately owned. So let's ask ourselves, if we had retained Power Holding Company of Nigeria and we had invested 2.7 trillion naira in Power Holding, given the crash for corruption amongst the ruling class, perhaps the result would not have been different from now.
Nigeria is fraud, and dismantling it is the best way. And Ninas has given us the steps to follow in getting rid of this cancer. Ọ ka ọkwa maka ozi ọma ala dị mma ka o wedịrị Igbo mma n'asụsụ Igbo ka a na-akwu ya. Nwanne anyị nwaanyị na-enyere ya ka wee na-eme ya ka ọ dị mma. Nwanne anyị nwaanyị ọmachi gere ya nke ọma, tinye uche gị na ya, n'ihi na ọ maka ihe gbasara ndị be anyị. Ala dị mma ọ bara onye ọbụla uru.
Referendum bụ ebe anyị na-eje. Nina asịsị na ha ya anyagide anyị n'ụgbọ anwa. Muvula anyị. Ebe ọ ya bụ isi rice ma white, gịnị ka ihe eji tinye? Ka ihe ya etinye ewe dị anya sọsọ rice ana-eko. Obodo ndị ọzọ na-efidi their citizens. Ị na-anụ ka ha na ifunugo ebe ha lụrụ pyramid. Ọ bụghị iberibe ka ọ bụ. Ihe anyị na-ekwu n'ụbọchị taata bụ ndị Igbo, sonye na ibe ụnọ, sonye na ndị ọzọ. Ethnic nationality, sonye na ndị ọzọ. Na Ninas, ọkwụ ụgbọ Ninas ka a na-ekwu okwu. Ninas na-asị na selection ma ọ bụ election under this current fraudulent constitution of 1999 na ha jụrụ ajụ na fasi na a ga-anọdụ ana wee kpaa kedu ka anyị si ebikọ ọnụ kedu ka anyị si ebi ọ bụrụ na o kwere anyị onye ọbụla na saa and anyị emie na referendum bụ ebe anyị na-eje nina asịsị na ya na ha ya anyagide anyị n'ụgbọ anwa muvulu anyị kwete na referendum ịtụnye nke gị ntụnye nke m onye ọzọ atụnye nke ya ịtụọ sị na ị ka chọrọ ịnọ na Naịjirịa ịnọdụ ịtụọ sị na ị chọrọ ịpụ na Naịjirịa ịpụọ je dozie ebe gị ọ bụ ihe eji egbe ọ bụ ihe eji mma ọ bụ ihe eji mizaịl eme and otu ọ dị kịta ama m na ndị Igbo si n'ọnị na asị ka ha kwụnyelụ maka na ọnụ ya bụ ọgụ anyị achọzi ya so biko ndị IPOB ihe anyị na-agwa unu bụ solunu ụmụ Igbo ndị ọzọ chebee echiche rethink kenen unu egbuzina onwe unu atazina anụ mmadụ unu anọzina n'ime ọfịa unu erepụzina onwe unu emebọzina ndị Igbo solunu ndị Igbo ndị ọzọ join on na nenas banyenụ na nenas banyenụ nenas ọkwa ụgbọ ndị nwaana ka ọ bụ ụgbọ ndị nwaana the movement of the owners of the land banyenụ nenas nke taa nke echi banyenụ nenas join nenas IPOB rethink unu edestroys na obodo anyị ana Igbo unu edestroys na ya unu emebizina ya unu akpazina arụ a ma ọ bụ ndị ọzọ onye ọbụla kwụsị unu emezina ya ma ọ bụgodo ndị politishan na-eyuzu unu si na ha mba anyị ncha niile chọrọ nnwere onwe mana o nwere usoro ka mma usoro ịma mwenitere egbe ụfọdụ n'ime unu ya na-asị he tigbuo ozugbo ndị na-asị dị quiet ndị na-asị anaghị emegharị ahụ ndị na-asị hey ọ bụghị tigbuo ozugbo ka eji eme akọ na uche agha uche nwere ihe ndị Igbo na-akpọ agha uche ịma njekwuru onye iro gị ji egbe jide mma jide mmiza isi n'ihu bịakwute ya ọgụ ihe esi n'azụ and ndị Igbo o nwekwara ihe ọzọ dị mkpa mma alụtụrụ n'aka ndị Igbo ama ihe a na-akpọ long term plan ndị Igbo enweghị ihe a na-akpọ reading culture ya eweta information ịgụọ ya gụba ya chebegharị ya echiche n'ime anyị ebido mebi ha ndị Fulani na-atụ plan ha 20 years ha ejizie nwayọọ na-arụ ya nke anyị bụ cham gwedin tigbuo zọgbuo achọrọ m ya kịta mma enye unu Biafra echi mma enye unu freedom tata ọ bụrụ na m enyeghị unu freedom tata ihe dị bụ na-eme ọ bụrụ na m enyeghị unu Biafra today Somalia ya aka n'Igbo mma hey bikozienụ onye ọbụla kunite onye ọbụla chebala onwe ya echiche ma nwoke ma nwaanyị ndị ụka ụmụ okorobịa ụmụ akwụkwọ ndị na-azụ afịa ndị na-akwụ ụgbọala ndị na-asị duru anyị ebe anwa anyị atụọ referendum hai okwu agwụ maka ama m na ihe m tụrụ ka ị ya atụ ọnọdụ anyị nọ n'ime Naịjirịa adọrọ m mma ọ dọrọ onye Igbo mma sọọsọ ndị ọ dị mma bụ ndị politishan isizikwe na ihe eji ịtụnye binye aka ha nwa akwadochagokwa onye ya achị imesikwali na ha akwadosigokwa onye ya achị so ọ ka mma na ịjụrụ jụọ ekwensu jụ ma otutu ya ma nlafu ya niile jụọ ihe niile gbasara ekwensu ịjụ ihe niile gbasara ekwensu ịma na ihe ajụ Naịjirịa jụkwuo ma INEC jụkwuo ma elekshọn ha na selekshọn ha jụkwuo ma ndị politishan jụgbado ha ka ị kwụrụ n'ụkwụ gị na-abọ wee zaa afa gị zaa onye Igbo onye Yoruba zaa onye Yoruba onye Ijaw zaa onye Ijaw onye TV zaa onye TV maka ndị anyị akwala ụnụ si ha na-eweta religion na-eweta ethnicity into politics ọkwa ahụ ka ha na-aghọ ụnụ ọkwa ahụ ka fa na-aghọ ụnụ ha na-egwukwe unu wayo chandum ha na-egwu na-eme unu. The more you look, the less you see. Don't be part of those who they play ping pong. Ping pong, table tennis, ping pong, don't be part of them. Go see that you are full of wisdom. That Chineke nyelu gi onyinye amamife were elu ọrụ. So ndị Igbo, ife nji jide asụsụ Igbo wee na-asụrụ unu bụ ka m gwa unu nekwe ebe a na-eje, nekwe ebe akwụ, nekwe nke na-akpọtụ, Ninas na-akpọtụ, Ninas na-akpọtụ. Ndị mba ofesi pụta chọọ ndị ha ya emit na ihe a na-akpọ self-determination.